Channel 5 Special is brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited.
Welcome to Uncovering COVID-19, a Channel 5 special. I'm your host, William Neal. We're 1 week into the state of emergency for the entire country and 3 days into it for Cayo. We've got a lot to talk about, and what we have decided to do in order to give you a 360 perspective is actually have a group of panelists to reflect on the major developments over the course of the last week. Joining me, I have Dr. Fernando Cuellar, internist, Business Senator Mark Lizarraga, Audrey Matura, attorney at law and activist, and Jenny Lovell, mental health therapist. Thank you very much for joining me. Now, what we're going to try to do with this show is actually give people some kind of insight and to give a 360 view. Now, Dr. Cuellar, I just want to start off and talk about, from the medical perspective, what do you think after this last week is kind of the most important thing for people to remember?
Well, I think the most salient thing so far, unfortunately, is that we've had a death already because of COVID-19. And I say that because I hope that would reinforce in people's mind the seriousness of this problem, this health problem. I was getting the impression that people wasn't paying it too much mind, but I guess when they hear somebody die from it, literally, then hopefully that would make a difference in their minds. And that would be, I think, one of the biggest things that has happened since we have been exposed to the coronavirus. We should now acknowledge that we have person-to-person transmission, and we should not think of us having coronavirus because of
foreigners,
the imported cases, as they call it, but we should all think that it's here within us, amongst us, and we have people who are not exhibiting any symptoms but can be transmitting the virus. So I think the country on a whole should think that everybody here is a potential carrier of the virus, and that should make us make the necessary precautions not to transmit, hence the real importance of social distancing and paying attention to the recommendations given.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cuellar. Senator Lizarraga, from your perspective, and this is just an intro, we'll have more in-depth conversation as we proceed with the show, but at the very top, kind of providing the 360 perspective. From a business point of view now, what is the main thing that has come into view for the business sector?
Well, I think it's cash flow, and I think that resonates on a personal level. I mean, when it comes to our citizens and when it comes to the business community, we have had a stoppage of flows from one of the main legs in our economy, tourism. So that has affected many businesses down the line. I mean, we have seen from obviously the employees in the hotels, and then those people that live off the tourist income from the tourists, the guides, etc., right down to the little stores that supply and the farmers that supply the tourism sector. I mean, this thing has had tremendous impact, and if the outcries we've seen for help are any indication, we now begin to understand how much the economy of this country, of course, we've had other businesses that have been closed either by law, to rightfully so, to limit movement of people, but we've had other businesses that have closed on their own as well. So this thing has brought about unprecedented stresses to our economy. and we're beginning to feel it, I believe.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Lizarraga. Audrey, in terms of the legal, we know that we've seen the SIs being put in place. We have the challenges of people being arrested for the curfew and quite a bit more. From a legal point of view, what's the big challenge that you see with the enforcement of the rules for the state of emergency?
I said my biggest challenge is for me to realize that, well, it's told that there are a lot of people who don't really understand these legislation. They don't seem to be appreciating what it says, but also concerning is the way the police applies it. The abuses and the misunderstanding by the police. For example, we've had cases where people say, it's an emergency, I need to go see mom, but that's the basis. But it comes down to how police are exercising.
Okay, thank you very much, Audrey. And of course, looking from a mental health perspective, Jenny, what would you say is the biggest challenge for people? Is it cabin fever, having to stay indoors?
Last week I got Facebook message, and I realized when I read that biggest challenge we have right now is the stigma and the fear and the shame. People are not going to want to go in to take a test if they think that they're going to be stigmatized. That's going to be a huge problem going forward. And so I really want us to talk about that later on when you come back to me, okay?
Of course. So we're going to go ahead and we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at the cases that have been confirmed over the past week, what it means with the death, and of course, how all of this impacts our economy, our mental health, and of course, our legal system. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages.
With over 100 years of service excellence in Belize, the Belize Bank Limited recognizes the importance of leading the way as we enter into this fast-growing technological world. Our Belize Bank mobile banking app virtually places a number of banking capabilities in the palm of our customers' hands, anytime, anywhere, through the use of their Android or iOS devices. The Belize Bank, delivering a convenient and enhanced banking experience to meet the demands of our customers' digital lifestyle. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Reduce your risk of viral illness like the flu or the coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water or with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing or sneezing with a tissue. Throw away, then wash hands immediately. Avoid close contact with anyone who has the cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or nearest health center and share your travel history. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
And welcome back to Uncovering COVID-19, a Channel 5 special. We have been joined via Skype by a set of panelists. We have Dr. Fernando Cuellar, we have Business Senator Mark Lizarraga, attorney at law and activist Audrey Matura, and mental health therapist Jenny Lovell. We're moving into our first segment, and during this segment we're going to look at the timeline of events with regards to COVID-19 for this past week. Our first important event that happened is that Belize records its first COVID-19 death. Patient 4. We have patient 6, 7, 8, and 9 confirmed. So quite a lot happening in terms of the doubling of the number of confirmed cases in Belize. But perhaps the most salient point that has been raised is definitely the one by Dr. Cuellar, that the death should mean quite a bit to everyone. So let's start there again. Hubert Pipersberg died after a brief period of being hospitalized. Of course, there were a lot of concerns on a personal basis from the family and also from the community in terms of whether we are ready in terms of the medical sector to address the challenges that will come with COVID-19. Dr. Cuellar, how ready can any country be to actually deal with this pandemic that we have on our hands?
The blunt answer to that, William, is no. The places in the world that has been most ready is the ones who have had previous experiences with similar like epidemics or pandemics, which is in Asia. They have learned from SARS and MERS. And if you look at history, about every 10 years, something like this has been happening. So those are the ones who have been as prepared as they can be. Over this side, the Western world, we have not, and we can take an example from the great United States, who you would clearly say they have been one of the least ready countries. And coming down to our small country in Belize, where we have a small economy and already a fragile healthcare system, then definitely any onslaught to it would make us suffer even more. Okay? Now, I just want to hurriedly make a point that, and it relates to what happened to patient number 4, Mr. Pipersberg. Our biggest effort is to make sure they don't get into the ICU and on ventilator. That is where our best medical effort and strongest medical effort can be. One, through the public health, through the mapping, contact tracing, all of that. And two, taking care of those that have symptoms that would warrant them to be in the hospital and make the strongest effort for them not to transition from there into the ICU. Reason being is that when they reach the ICU, they are in big trouble. They are in really big trouble. The ICU and being on a ventilator gives you a mortality of almost 80%, meaning that 8 out of 10 people with they're on a ventilator from COVID will pass away, regardless of where they are, regardless if they're in New York or UK or whatever. And even in our healthcare system where we are limited, then that can even go up. So our message in Ministry of Health and us practitioners should be that we take care of the ones to avoid them getting into the ICU.
Now, I want to jump over to Audrey with regards to the same case. I'll come back to you, Dr. Cuellar, because I want to talk a little bit about the importance of community spread and what that means. But with the case of Mr. Pipersberg, we saw the family talking about negligence, which has eroded even more the confidence that people have in our fragile medical system. From a legal perspective, Audrey, what's your take on that, and how do we manage that going forward? Because people will then also feel, besides the stigma and discrimination, that there's a lack of faith in terms of entering the medical system.
Okay, I think what this case does, indeed, it does highlight the possibility of the medical system exposing itself to some kind of lawsuit, simply because I don't know if the established protocol could be followed, or people just don't fall within the system. That's because but that is if we go only by what the wife has said and written, and I have it up before me, when she said that she called, and she said she called Dr. Manzanero. I'm told there are two Dr. Manzanero. The assumption is the one in charge, but whoever it is, if she calls someone in the system and you go by her account of what she said happened, and not only that she made the call, but even more frightening is that she says she went to the Belmopan hospital and she was treated, or they were treated as though they were delinquents and left out there. If that lady could prove those things, then there's a possibility that she actually has a case for negligence. And so I think that's one of the things the authorities have to look at, because although we have a state of emergency, and although we have in place certain rights that have been curtailed because of what's going on, it does not take away your right to bring about a lawsuit under any realm of the law, constitutional law, civil law, tort law, contract law, any one of the law. So I would have to say, if you look into the details, and it would have to be that you have to establish that the people or the personnel at the hospital or the people in authority owed a duty of care to Mr. Pipersburg, that duty of care was breached, and it is the breach of that duty of care that resulted in his death. So you see, there might be medical things that we don't know. He may have had pre-existing condition and would have died anyway, whether they gave him the care or not. So those are the minor details that you have to put into evidence to be able to reach that threshold. So I don't think we have enough to say, yes, there's a case or not, but on the face of it, there is something that you can explore to see, is there a case of negligence?
Before we move off the entire idea of the death, I want to go to Jenny and talk about the mental health state of the nation. For a lot of people, the death itself was very nerve-wracking. You know, it became a big issue in terms of anxiety. How do you manage that within your family with children, and how do you not use it as a scare tactic to get people to do the right thing?
Right. So, William, first of all, I would like to say to families, your children are already scared. You don't want to use scare tactics with them. Number one, it's a patient who died. Okay? Please remember, it's a patient. I really hate this like we are like dehumanizing the person who died. So it's the patient who died. All right. But we need to basically to reassure our children that it's important to wear the mask. You have to wear a mask. I've met people at the market and they'll say, I'm leaving this mask, and these are adults. And I take the time to say to them, it's not so much for you, it's to help the other person, because you may be a carrier. And how would you like it if somebody else wasn't wearing a mask and you caught something from them? We are thinking of our brother. I mean, in this time right here, we really have to be thinking about each other and loving each other and becoming sensitive to the needs of others. And we need to be talking to our children in gentle tones and reassuring them that this is, yes, it's a very dangerous illness, but we do not want to scare them. And we ourselves, we have to control the fear that we feel. Because, yeah, there's a lot of fear out here since the gentleman died. A lot of fear. But let me tell you, what we focus on expands. It really does. And so we really have to start giving our children a message of hope, but we also need to make sure we tell them to protect themselves and protect others. And again, the message isn't just for the children, it's for us also.
Well, yeah, a couple of observations. I think we've seen too many times in our country where policy, there's a disconnect between intent and policy and how policy is affected. And this happens a lot in the business world, but we saw it in this case. There's an opportunity in front of us to correct these mistakes. It's sad that as I understand it, this patient asked for intervention, went to see a couple of doctors, and the policy at that time was not to test. I mean, because if you look around the world, the answer seems to be test, and good practices, good sanitation practices, isolate, that kind of thing. So the opportunity is here for us to learn that perhaps we need to enact policy and scatter the policy throughout the systems faster. You have a body up on top that's making decisions and telling us, look, we have these things in place, blah, blah, blah. We're investing in all these things, but it's not hitting the ground. I was looking at the cost of testing the other day, and if my mathematics is right and what I heard, from an interview with Dr. Manzanero on TV is correct. A test is about $35. So I don't see why we're not more aggressive with testing at this time, if it is that we have thousands of test kits, and if it is that the cost is so low. To me, that's the most cost-effective and money-saving way for us to address this thing, is to test, and test aggressively. And I hope we can learn from those mistakes.
The cost of not doing it is going to be more.
So
when you come with the numbers and the multiplication, the cost of not doing will come even more.
Of course, we saw the shutdown of Cayo, and you have that entire shutdown affecting the agro-productive sector and businesses in general. Senator Lizarraga, let's start with you there. What's the best way, or in terms of looking at what has happened in Cayo, which is considered by many to be the food basket for the nation in terms of what they provide? What has been your take on what has happened there?
Well, let's say that Cayo is a real contributor to our economy. And that district is very productive in the sense of not only agriculture, but tourism as well. And we have a lot of people that live in Cayo that work outside of Cayo. So they have been affected like most other areas in the country. Right now, the issue that's before us is that we have a large segment of the agricultural community who are undergoing some challenges in that consumption has decreased, and they have supply. We have a lot of excess in certain areas, the food, and the markets that we originally had for some of them, for example, to Guatemala, have been closed, and we're having some difficulty, I understand, getting back into those markets. And granted, a lot of the markets that we had were not formal, but so we're in a position now where, yes, we have food, but we have too much in that sense. No, the conversation needs to be had. If you want to ramp up your economy, because we have to live off a local economy right now, or imported economy or foreign exchange is almost dead or non-existent, then what should we be doing to support the local economy? One of the things we're going to be talking about, and I don't know if this is a segment, but I'm going to be putting in a plug, that we have a program, or that we have serious consultation to see how we can consume that excess. We can't consume all of it, but how we can put it to good use so that we don't have wastages, so that we don't have losses to that segment of our economy, because we need for them actually to ramp up production so that we could start exporting, and we need to keep them in a position where they're making money. We don't want them to be losing. We don't want them to go out of business. So we need to help them with cash flow. Remember, that's where I started. We have excess in certain things. How can the government come in and inject? Every government in this world is going to have to provide some sort of stimulus, not only to the people who are not working, but at some stage to the businesses as well, so that we could continue to employ and so that we could rebound. Who pay the taxes in this country? Businesses and workers, right? Consumers.
Senator,
so we have to keep the... Yes?
Senator, one quick thing, because was it necessary to shut down the construction portion of the economy? What are your thoughts there?
I don't want to get into the individuals, because, I think if the medical people are telling you, look, this is the time to control movement, then we have to do it. Nobody wants to shut down the economy. Let's get that very clear.
Good.
Right? Nobody wants to shut down the economy. But if we have to take, I think we have three things in front of us. We have not only a health crisis, not only a social crisis, as Jenny and others will talk about, but we have an economic crisis, and there needs to be a balance between them. So, and I think we've been trying, and there's no model for this. Everybody is handling it in their own different way, and we will have to find our own model, our own way of dealing with it. But what I need to say is that it needs to be responsive, it needs to be quick. I mean, for example, today I'm hearing that the aid that we're giving to the 44,000 people, that only 1,500 people have been processed so far and approved for disbursements, and they still haven't actually received monies yet. We're moving too slow. I'm sorry. People need help now. Businesses need help now. In that regard, one of the things I want to say is that just like how you have this oversight committee, we need a business planning committee with business people, not just with bureaucrats. We need to be removing hurdles, we need to be removing bureaucratic hurdles, and we need to move at the speed of people's needs. People have legitimate fears, people have legitimate needs, and we need to address them now. Not 2 weeks, not 3 weeks, not next week, now. And we have to find a way to do it.
Audrey, you wanted to jump in?
Yes, I want to jump in on several things. I want to answer the question that Dr. Cuellar raised about whether the frontliners can refuse to work if not given the PPEs, and the answer is outright yes. Let me tell you why. It doesn't matter who employs you, if it's a state or it's a private entity. One of the principles of employment law is that your employer must at all times give you a safe working environment and the required tools. If they do not give you that, and as a result of that you suffer injury, you can sue them then. So if you're a frontliner and you know better than us the danger that you're facing, you know that if you don't have that mask, that glove, or the quality of robe you need, and you agree to still go ahead and perform, then your family can still sue for negligence, but then it will be contributory negligence because you contributed knowing that you as a frontliner would have known better that you shouldn't. And I'm glad he mentioned that question because it's one of the questions I keep getting in my inboxes from a lot of people. And when I talk about frontliner, it's not only the doctors and the nurses. I'm getting reports from the soldiers, the BDF soldiers are saying they're packing us up in vehicles. They don't even give us any gears. We don't do the social distancing. And people have posted pictures on Facebook showing how they're being treated. The police officers are telling us, look, we're reading and we're seeing that that these cloth masks are not the best one. It's the N95 one that we need. We're not getting those, but yet we are put at checkpoints. We are called out to do all sorts of things. And they're like immediate frontliners right now.
Can I just say something though, Audrey? Globally, we know that we're having trouble acquiring the N95 masks, for example. And globally, frontline workers are having huge challenges. So how do you manage that?
I have a solution, a suggestion. Remember, I'm saying that one of the problems we are having is that the frontliners, such as those in the law enforcement, okay, you don't have all that equipment, but then how do you not practice social distancing? How can you pack 25 BDF soldiers in the back of a truck with absolutely nothing? So sometimes you have to look at what we don't have and say, okay, we don't have that. So how do we make use with what we do have? What can we do at this point? And that's where we're even failing them. So that's important. So I wanted to put in that because that's a question to be answered. The other thing that I was asked, whether it was right to close construction sites and many other things. And I'll tell you, I don't even have to worry which degree I have or not. My answer is outright yes. You had to close them from the start. I have been the one with the notion that the quicker you close down and freeze the germ, the virus where it is, the quicker you do that, the quicker we will bounce back. So, and we didn't do that. We were always like 2 or 3 weeks behind.
So let me jump in and ask you something very quickly, because the next thing that we would have raised was actually looking at the curfew, and the Compol has cried out for jail time being instituted for people, because you're talking about closing down the construction sites, etc. Are you as a legal person in favor of instituting a jail time, for example, to get curfew offenders to abide by the rules of the state of emergency?
No, I am not in favor of that. I'm sorry. This is part of the legal problem, but it's also a social problem. And locking up people now is not the best thing. Why? Because the prison is already overloaded. So right now, I think that Mr. Murillo at prison is doing everything he can to contain and protect the people there. Every time you bring someone from out here that has been all over the place, you're contaminating there. There's just so much you can do to isolate there. Those
But should people who don't adhere to the rules of the state of emergency be left to their own discretion? Because obviously, with the number of arrests, what do we do in this case?
Let me tell you what I would do if I can make a suggestion. I would not send them to prison. What I would have done across the country, at specific place, I think they should have had some kind of unit where you can take them temporarily, isolate them, quarantine them, because the fact that they're moving so much, they might be a danger. So if people know that they will, and remember this is a state of emergency, so you can limit their movement. If people know they will be held and taken to a quarantine place where they cannot contaminate others, I think that would be a solution, not only to prevent them from being out, but also to take the opportunity to test them. Because if that is their habit, then we are having a problem. And at the same time, there should be some kind of counselor, some kind of other professional to speak with these people, because the people who are taking those risks comes in a category. I have classified the society in 4 categories. They come into me, the 4th category. For me, the first category is those who understand the danger and will not take the risk. I call them the germaphobes. The second category, I say, are those who recognize the danger but have to be out there, so they will take a level of precaution. Then the other category is the one who don't really care, but they will try to do something and do some kind of measure. And the final one is that the risk takers, that they absolutely, some of people literally say we'll die anyway, something will kill us, it doesn't matter. And those are the risk takers. I really think we have different layers.
Listen, I want to just add something there and say,
yes,
change don't happen overnight.
Exactly.
Change is a process. And we have allowed our people to be the way they are for a long time. It's not going to happen because you put them in a prison. It's not going to happen. You just
treat them different.
There. You have to do things differently and get them to change the whole mentality.
Now, William,
go ahead, Senator.
The 3 main things I think right now that we need to fully focus on is health, the social issues, and the economy. Right? Yeah. So those are the 3 hurricanes that we face, and if we don't deal with them properly, we're going to have a scenario of a perfect storm. So I think the time has come now for us to expand and to get input from other players. And I hope that the Prime Minister, with the same wisdom, will reach out and form these other groups to deal with the pressing issues, because it's overwhelming for anybody, even for the Oversight Committee. I can imagine everybody is overwhelmed right now.
They'll be
but the more hands on board that we have, feeding them with good input, feeding them with good ideas, with different ideas. We have to be innovative.
Yes.
The better off we'll be at the end of the day.
All right, on that point, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll be getting ready to wrap our show for today. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages.
Persons at risk of becoming seriously ill from the flu or the coronavirus, people over the age of 60, persons with medical conditions they already had, such as diabetes or heart disease or conditions that has made their immune system low, such as HIV or cancers. At this time, there is no vaccine or treatment. Serious cases may need oxygen or ventilator support. Be caring and show support for your elderly loved one during this time. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
Welcome back to Uncovering COVID-19, a Channel 5 special. We have lost, unfortunately, one of our panelists due to pressing emergency issues at work. Dr. Cuellar won't be returning for the remainder of the show, but we do have our other 3 panelists. So in this section, what we're going to look at, we're going to address 5 concerns, and we're going to ask Business Senator Mark Lizarraga, attorney at law and activist Audrey Matura, and mental health therapist Jenny Lovell to simply chime in where they find it necessary. We're going to try and make this as bang as possible to get through this segment, because we have quite a number of issues, but as the weeks progress, we hope that we'll get an opportunity to discuss and continue to share a 360 perspective. Our first concern here is what lessons in terms of our health sector are we learning from the COVID-19 response? How do we handle, obviously we don't do much in terms of medical research. We don't have the financing to do that. But I still want to ask our panelists, even though we don't have our medical expert here, what do they think about in terms of, I know confidentiality within the system has prompted the use of numbers. And we've discussed earlier in the show that dehumanizes the persons who have been afflicted by COVID-19. Any thoughts or considerations with regards to that, and how we deal with matters like, for example, the protection for frontline workers, etc.? Panelists?
Just start off, I think there are lots of lessons we've learned in this short period. I think the first one is that our healthcare and frontline people, all our frontline people I'm talking about, have very serious concerns about their own safety, about their own equipment needs. I saw, for example, a video on television yesterday or on Facebook that depicted this facility that was set up in San Ignacio.
Oh, yeah.
It was a tent in the sunlight and stuff on the floor, and just opened up to the 4 elements. I mean, we have to do better than that. We can't have people or patients in that kind of environment. I'm sorry. I mean, at this time, the government can commandeer, they can use a hotel, they can do something, but it has to be more than that. So we have to do more. That's one. We have to definitely protect our frontline people and give them not only the protective equipment, but a proper atmosphere for them to, a good working environment for them to be working in. We have to make our frontline people safe. That's one. That's critical and crucial. 2, I think we have to learn, and we have to go back to what we've been hearing, test, and become more aggressive with testing. If we have 5,000 kits, there's no need, in my view, for $35 a test, why we should be not using them. I mean, I'm sure we have to space them out, whatever, but we have to become more aggressive with testing. Those are the main things I'd like to emphasize on. I'd like to also say that we know, looking at the models and looking at what has happened throughout the world, that if we're not careful, this thing could peak and start going up through the roof. As soon as you have communities being infected, tracing becomes more difficult, etc. So I make an appeal at this stage for people to practice social distancing, stay home, follow the authorities, and
don't worry, we won't sign off yet. We won't sign off yet. Audrey, go ahead.
What I learned is quickly that, 1, we should never have a non-doctor as our Minister of Health. I'm sorry, it's to the point. It's not helping the situation. It really needs that. 2, I think another thing I learned is that, honestly, our healthcare system is not prepared for it. So that segues into 3, where I'm saying, please, government, just stop lying and make it seem that we are ready. Tell us the people who are not ready, so that when we know you're not ready, there's the backup plan B, as to what we will do. Nothing is wrong if we're not ready, in that many people in the world are not ready. Who expects a pandemic? You know? But don't give a false sense of hope that we are ready. We are not ready. But the 4th thing is that, knowing that we are not ready, it is amazing to see now how we are finding money to quickly find somewhere in the budget to buy things, that basic things we should have had a long time ago. Basic equipment, basic tools, gears, and so So that is the truth, and I don't say that to make anyone look bad, because that's the reality. Because all our governments have failed us over the year to create a healthy sector, a healthy health sector. But also what I learned, which is on a positive note in terms of our health on a whole, it seems that generally Belizeans are very, very healthy or resistant. And I say that simply because even with, although we have not had all the testing, we have not had the level of deaths other countries have had. And the final thing I think I've learned about the whole thing about the medical field is that the politics of it, as to how you get medication, as to who gets this contract, and say, it's nasty. It's nasty, and we need to have better oversight and transparency and accountability. So if we don't take this time to revamp the whole process, then something is wrong. Oh, and I did have one more thing. I learned too that our frontline workers are far more valuable and should be paid better and given more credit than the politicians and all the big business people who think they're better. Because when it comes down to it, your wealth means nothing without health.
All right. Jenny, any comments on that first concern?
There were issues in the medical before this happened. I think their workers went out demonstrating, or they stood around outside KHMH.
Yeah,
because
there was a threat.
Yeah, there were issues. So there's some problems in that sector already. And then now they're faced with this, and they don't have proper PPEs. I don't think that what they have, the sizes are correct. And it'll be at least 2 weeks before anything comes in, from what I heard on the radio. So here are these people, they are on the front line. They know what it looks like to have your lung become so infected. So they are scared, and Dr. Koyar said it, they're scared. And I don't blame them for being scared. It's human to be scared. But the thing is how can we ask these frontline people to go out there? And I'm not talking just about medical. Any of these frontline people not to have the proper equipment, knowing that we probably have this out there in the community. So I applaud these folks. I think we really need to really, all of us, we need to applaud them for going out there and doing the job that they signed up to do.
But let me move on to the next concern, because obviously we've spoken a little bit about it. How do we mitigate the economic impact of COVID-19 on us as a nation? We had 44,000 plus apply for unemployment benefits. Of course, our system does not have that, so they have to create an entire system to now decide who gets that and how they distribute that monies. How do we focus on these matters that are pressing, and how do we deal with them in an effective way and in the shortest time possible?
Well, let me say, it is, again, just this one single topic can be overwhelming.
Yep.
But it highlights again how unprepared we were for shocks in our society, how we neglected and did not take the opportunity to address things when we should have addressed it. We've been talking about unemployment insurance for years. We've known that our economy was vulnerable to shocks. We never know that there may be a shock from a virus. Normally the shocks we talk about are some economic shock or some hurricane shock or something like that, but it exposes our whole system to the vulnerabilities and the lack of planning that we've had. Let me say this. We have 3 types of aid that are available right now for the people that need it. We have the unemployment, which you mentioned 44,000 have applied, and as of today the first 1,500 has been processed and is going to be or has been approved or whatever, but it's taking too long. 1. 2, we have the boost program and the pantry program, which are for the most part, I must say, non-transparent. I say that because we don't know who get aid, what are the policies for aid, and a lot of things. I know, and I'm not trying to be political, but I was thinking that at this time they should have all come under one umbrella so that you avoid this triplication of people trying to get aid, and I thought the Social Security was the best place to do that, but bring everything into a transparent system one umbrella for aid, because we don't have unlimited resources either, because we weren't prepared. I think that we have to seriously start looking now for the long haul at how do we keep our economy vibrant, how do we funnel this food supply that we have locally as part of the aid package, so that we keep our farmers engaged and viable. They have to be profitable. So I think that if we're talking about this thing, we have to, and as a part of aid, we have to try and talk about how do we get the vegetables from the little farmer to the 44,000 people that need it. How do we get the eggs? How do we get the chickens? How do we get... We have to think outside the box now. We can't afford to be throwing away milk, as some people suggested. We have lots of children who go to bed at night hungry. We have to try and figure out how do we get that milk to the people. And we have an entity called the marketing board. They're channeled. Their legislation empowers them to do a lot of things like this. So we have to think outside the box and find ways to connect the dots and connect them quickly. This is why I'm saying you need to have specialized committees, because how long are we in this thing now? I mean, we've been hearing it from January. We knew it was coming February, March, April. We're beginning at the April, and people still have not gotten the stimulus that they need from government.
What can we do to mitigate? I see a bright side in the sense that, a lot of our money was leaking out of our economy when we were going to Chetumal and Melchor to shop, right? That's good that we could do that we can go to Chetumal and Melchor, but right now the positive side is that that money will stay in circulation here. And I really believe that we can stimulate the internal economy. I don't have all the answers, but Senator Lizarraga alluded to that, as that we need to get heads together. So that's a bright side for me. But one of the things that I suggest that we can do immediately, the government has to stop giving tax breaks. For too long, we bring in so-called investors and we give tax breaks. I mean, right now, effective the 1st of May, when the National Gas Company comes online, their legislation at Section 7 says they will not pay taxes for 15 years. Imagine they are replacing the industry, the LPG industry that has been paying taxes for 30 years. So we need to stop those tax breaks. Right now, it's not time for that. You need to go back to the drawing table and say, how will the government get taxes in? Because those taxes is what is going to keep the economy, in terms of the government being able to do its part. I think that other thing that we need to do is to give relief right now, immediately. I really think we have to reconsider how BTL, BL, BWS are going to be giving us relief. I don't think they're giving us sufficient. Why am I saying that? I'm old enough to tell you that there was a time before these places became privatized and now gone back into the state system, when those basic necessities were made available to our society so easily. I remember when they first became privatized, I was a young journalist then doing the story. It's not that we want to go back to the old days, but we have to go back and see how that system had worked then, and for a short time implement it. It's just for a short time. I'm not saying that they will never get their revenues, but they really need it right now. And the government has always known that at some point that they will have to be the one that has to come in and create the solutions. And I don't think they are right now, because they're not seeing long-term what's happening.
We're now moving into our third concern, which has to do with digital transformation. Obviously, for this show, despite the fact that we've had some technical difficulties, we're using technology to meet and to adhere to the safe social distancing rules. At the same time, we know that there has been a move for government to move to e-commerce and to put quite a number of the policies and procedures online. What are your thoughts on that, and what are the lessons that we're learning now with COVID-19 that could serve us well going into the future in terms of how we can operate from a distance and still be effective and efficient?
Who was that question related?
Anybody.
All right, let me go ahead since we can't hear Audrey. I think there's an opportunity here for us to continue what we've been promoting, at least from the business community, for quite a while, that we need to have a government that's connected. We need to use the technology to become more efficient and to become more effective, to speed up processes, to cut down on bureaucracy, on lines, that kind of thing. So I think we've seen a move towards that. I mean, it's healthy now that a lot of people, it contributes to our health, really, that people could go home and even though they're shut down, could be productive. That's good, but not everybody can do that. So I think that digital transformation has begun to take place. You see it in the BPOs, you see it a lot in the service sectors, you see it in communication. So I think that's good, and we'll continue to grow and use those means as we go along, I'm sure, especially after this, how we meet, how we communicate, and that will lend a lot to efficiencies, really. What concerns me at this time more than anything, though, is, to me, I don't see us using these mediums enough for the kids in education. Part of your question is about education. And I think that we're missing an opportunity to be teaching kids who are locked up at home, who need to be entertained. We need to be feeding them, I think, positive things. And I think we're not using the TV, perhaps the radio, and we're all focused on other news, on other things, and we're not focused on things that could create a different space, a different environment for the kids. I think there's a lot of technology and a lot of programs that have fantastic, I'm thinking about Khan Academy, for one, TED Talks, a whole bunch of other tools that we could be using to educate our kids at this time that perhaps we're not focusing on. And I think that will lend a lot to maybe easing some of the social pressures and some of the pressures at home and keeping the kids engaged and entertained. But digital transformation is here. We're in the digital world. I think businesses have been using it more and more and more. I think that we've seen a lot of people begin to apply it, especially under these times. And I think that it's a good thing that we're connected. Belize really is connected. And in that sense, that's a positive.
All right, Audrey, any comments, or Jenny?
Gina, the talk, go ahead.
Okay, yes. What I think right now is a good thing that we're seeing, that we can use the technology. So my appeal would be for us to have more coverage, for more Belizeans to have access to this technology, because while we have more in the towns and the cities, quick access, I know many times in the villages and more rural areas, people are not having the access. So I think we need to find a way to make it more accessible, cheaper, and let it become a new norm. And I see it especially where right now a lot of people want to apply for the COVID relief, but yet they still have to go out in person because they don't have a
right.
COVID. So it should become the same way we all have a stove or, a basic tool in our home. It should become something as basic as that, if we can see ourselves in the future doing that. That's my contribution to that.
I just want to say that I'm watching a lot of the kids they got homework. A lot of the schools were able to give out homework, but there are some schools where they are in neighborhoods where the children do not have computers. And I think it's essential that you give out the government was giving out computers to children at various schools, I think for like fourth form and third form, but they really need to be also looking at the kids. So maybe getting these poor families connected, because that's going to be the way of the future, and this has proven it. I mean, we're all sitting here, and this is what is our lifeline right now. So I look on the computer, and there's so many free things out there that the children could be benefiting from right now if there were computers in the home. So I am a definite, I'm raising the roof. Hey, let's have computers in all the homes as much as possible. And let part of the stimulus package be that we ensure that families get one of these little computers.
Eventually, can I just add something? I agree with you, Jenny, that eventually that's the way we would like to see all our people educated, or have access to education. But I think that there are many things we could be doing on television, for example. Right now, yeah. We should have a TV channel.
Which leads into our fourth concern, the role of the media, because I think...
Well, I wasn't talking really about the media. I was talking about you could have a channel for Infant 1, Standard Infant 2, whatever, Standard 1, Standard 2, Standard 3. It's only, you're talking about 8 or 10 channels, so that because almost everybody has access to a television. So you could keep the kids' minds engaged on a daily basis. That's where I was going.
Well,
Yes. It's like a
the
local
difference
con.
between a television and a computer is that you can put an interactive component if you're using the computer. I think, for me, I agree with most of what was said. I still think that we have to let people understand that the computer is also an educational tool. When you see a lot of people spending more time trying to figure out how to do the latest social media, TikTok, or Instagram or something else, and don't think about using it in a way that is educational, I think we have to somehow get people to understand that this is an educational tool as well.
I think and I know I say the local media, I know I blame the local media, but people are watching the media, and they're watching CNN, and they're watching this, and the message has been focusing on the deaths. So what we're doing, we're spreading fear. And this is what's leading to the stigma and all the other stuff that's happening out there. I went on computer and I looked at this thing. And do you know that worldwide there have been 96,607 deaths? But there have been people who have recovered 1,135,054 persons who have recovered from this illness, and they don't say that. So as a media, I think it's imperative that the media take responsibility and also put out the message of hope and put out the message that not everybody is going to die from this illness, and get people to, once we have testing in the country, get people to go out there and test and not be afraid to do it. But we can't just focus on death because that triggers the fear.
I'm really concerned about the continued viability and sustainability of the media. Why am I saying that? Because right now, the way things are, I know that your income from ads will be way down. You're suffering just like everybody else. And when business people start to cut, they start cut things that don't have a direct impact right away. Right now, I don't know what your ad revenue is, but I suspect it's taking a massive hit. And the media has an important, a critical role to play in our democracies. I mean,
yes.
So you're a very important player. I'm concerned about the survival, to be honest with you, of many of the media in this country, just as I am with everybody else. But I think that the media's role is important, and when we're talking about keeping businesses alive, I throw the media in as one of those businesses that are crucial, because we need to be informed, we need to be educated, you guys need to be able to do your investigative reporting, not because when a crisis means that you take our eyes off of transparency and accountability. On the contrary, if you listen to Parliamericas and you listen to Transparency International, this is the time when we have to be more vigilant.
Yes.
More vigilant, because we need all our dollars to be well spent, well invested in a transparent and accountable manner. So I think the media has a crucial role to play as the days go along, and I'm just concerned that you guys will be able to do it and have the money to do it. And we need to find ways to keep you alive as well.
We're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll be right back after these messages.
With over 100 years of service excellence in Belize, the Belize Bank Limited recognizes the importance of leading the way as we enter into this fast-growing technological world. Our Belize Bank mobile banking app virtually places a number of banking capabilities in the palm of our customers' hands, anytime, anywhere, through the use of their Android or iOS devices. The Belize Bank, delivering a convenient and enhanced banking experience to meet the demands of our customers' digital lifestyle. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Stay healthy while traveling. Frequently wash hands with soap and clean running water, or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid touching eyes, nose, and mouth. Avoid close contact with persons suffering from any cold or flu-like symptoms. Avoid travel if you have any cold or flu-like symptoms. Avoid travel unless absolutely necessary to any location that currently has local spread of the COVID-19. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or nearest health center and share your travel history. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
And welcome back to our final segment for Uncovering COVID-19, Channel 5 special. I'm William Neal, and we have our panelists. We have Business Senator Mark Lizarraga, we have Audrey Matura, attorney at law and activist, and we have mental health therapist Jenny Lovell. And now for our parting shots. Senator Lizarraga, let's start with you.
I was about to say at the end of the last segment that I believe that the answer to ignorance is education. People's fear of the unknown, genuine, legitimate, but the way you deal with that is you educate, you teach people, you're honest with people. I believe that that honesty calms. I agree with Audrey in that there was a certain calmness that came about when these patients, some of them came out and said, you know, it's me. See, this is my experience. So I think we have to be honest with our people, and that will calm them. But you deal with ignorance by education. So perhaps our education needs to be spread out a little more, and perhaps we're not reaching as many people. We can't assume that everybody that watch TV or listen to radio. Maybe we have to continue the education more at the, even if it's on a personal level, one-on-one, street to street, whatever. But maybe we need to look at the way we're educating our people. My parting shot here, I want to say, look, we're in this for the long haul. This is not going to be a short-term fight. I'm sorry, this is not a 6-week or 8-week exercise. I think that as a people, as a government, as businesses, we need to start seriously looking at budgeting. We need to look at conserving what it is that we have, the resources that we have, and hunker down like it's going to be for the long haul. I want to make an appeal to the people of Belize to support our farmers, to support our Belizean products and food. We need to support these people because we can't have them losing money. They're going to be going out of business. Then we have to be importing food. We don't have no foreign exchange. So it's crucial that we buy in Belize, support Belize, buy Belizean products and things that we grow and that we have in this country right now abundantly. My appeal to the government is to find a way to include these surpluses into your programs so that these industries, these farmers can survive. I would like to thank those people in the business community that have made efforts, and there are many, too countless to mention. We've heard about them from PG all the way up to San Pedro. We've heard about individual efforts and business efforts in helping people. We are one community. We have to survive this as a community, not as individuals. So I thank those businesses that are trying and reaching out, trying to help people and making an impact. I thank all the workers that are on the front line, including my own workers that come to work in my supermarket and my meat place, that they make an effort to come to work because we're an essential service. And I think that when you educate them, they put in the protection mechanisms and they practice good practices. That is important that we continue to do that. Many businesses are offering packages, including my own, to help people, and we need to support these types of initiatives and encourage them where we can. Buy in Belize, and let's plan for the long haul. All of us, government, businesses, and people, save your money, budget your money, no waste your money. I'm sorry, all of them sin things at this time. You don't got money for liquor, you don't got money for buy perfume, you don't got money for nothing extravagant, none of the sin tax items. Focus on saving yourself and your families. Keep healthy, keep safe. Thank you, Belize.
All right. Audrey?
What I want to say is I want to extend my congratulations and support to the leadership. I mean, I know I'm very critical of some of the things, but that's just because somebody needs to hold them accountable. But that doesn't mean I don't appreciate that they are making efforts. I mean, it's something novel. I know I had pressed for earlier action on things, and even if it came a bit later, I really appreciate that they are making it. They're making the effort. I want to implore our Prime Minister and all the people who advise them to not be afraid to reach out to other people to help, to know that they don't have the monopoly on ideas, that there are other people who can assist them and should be allowed to assist them, and to tell them that nothing is wrong to change as we go along, you know. As we go along, as we figure out things, we have to change, you know. We have to be changing the legislation, the rules. We have to make the decisions. That is just so normal. It's real life. All of us have a big plan how we want to live our life, but as reality hits in, we change it. So not to be afraid and to reach out to people to help them with that. Also, I want to, us as a people, I know we won't change our culture overnight, but I want us as a people to think that there's a new norm coming upon us. We can't be locked down forever. We have to figure out new ways to do things, because what worries me is the mental health of people being locked down too much, because by nature our society is a very open society. People like to go out. This is going to be one of the most difficult Easter ever. Very difficult, because culturally we're used to our cross country, and then we go to the river, and then we travel, and I know it has to change. But one of the things we can do this weekend as we celebrate Easter, for those of us who celebrate that, is sit back and think about what this new norm is going to mean for me, and how will I adjust? What can I contribute? Because while we need to do social distancing and lockdown, I've always known it's not forever, but it has to happen. And even after it's undone, the reality is COVID doesn't just disappear. So what practices will we put in to help us? It's a time for us as a nation to mature, and I'm hoping that we are able to do that, and that having these discourse and hearing other people's opinion will help.
All right. Thank you very much, Audrey. And Jenny?
I would be remiss if I didn't just say, for people who are anxious out there, if you go to YouTube, there are lots and lots of music. There's calming music to help you sleep. There's mindfulness techniques that are there on YouTube that you can practice. And you can do mindfulness as small as 1 minute and up to 15 minutes. Besides that, there are meditation techniques. And in fact, right now, if you could just like a 1 minute thing I want to show you. Audrey, Senator, you all do this, and the people who will be watching this, put your feet flat on the ground, sit straight up, your back has to be straight, and then you're going to take your hand, your left hand, put your right hand in your left hand, and you're going to touch your thumbs, just the tip of your thumbs. You'll close your eyes and breathe in, and hold your breath, breathe out through your mouth. Breathe out, blow out through your mouth. Breathe in through your nose. Blow out through your mouth. One more. Breathe in through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. That's a 1 minute meditation. Now, thank you. Now what you do, you focus first on the breath, because people aren't used to sitting quietly. You focus first on the breath, and then later on you can go on to 2 minutes, and you focus on the breath, or you focus on just learning about yourself. You go inward, and you can extend that 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but I suggest if it's your first time, start with a 1 minute meditation. It will help with the anxiety. Get the children to do it. It will help you. And that's all I'm going to contribute there, William.
All right. Thank you very much, Jenny. Before we close off our show for tonight, we'd like to say that it has not been all bad news. We'd like to have our business spotlight. We know that quite a number of businesses have stepped up and accepted the challenge of impacting the fight against COVID-19. And tonight, we want to definitely say a big thank you and kudos to Stationery House for helping out our frontline workers stay safe. To Gio and his entire family and everyone there, Thanks for making it possible.
Yes. Good night. Bye.
Good night. Thank you very much for joining us, and we encourage you to be safe, practice safe social distancing, and do your part. And during the Easter weekend, take time to celebrate just being alive. Take a deep breath, and we'll see you next time.
Uncovering COVID-19 Pandemic, a Channel 5 special, was brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited.
If you have a